Okay, team, here we go. I've got a really cool add-on down here that's going to show the commands that I'm pressing on my keyboard, but I'll try to explain them too. But it's nice to be able to see it. So you can see it sort of working right now. So I just hit N to open this toolbar over here and N to hide it. Okay, so the video I'm going to make here is just a quick short video on some of the more popular modifiers, specifically the ones that I showed in class. So I'm just going to start with a simple cube. So I'm going to do Shift A and let's just do a cube. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to select that cube and I'm going to go over here to the little wrench kind of button over here. This is modifier properties. So I'm going to click that. And right now it says add modifier. So we don't have any modifiers currently in our file or added to this object. So I want to add one. And the first one I'm going to show here, here's our whole list of them that we can play with. Do I know how all of these work? No, I don't know. But I will do my best to explain sort of the good ones. So first one I want to do here is Bevel. So this is a great tool. So I'm going to click that. And what that does is take all the edges and just bevels it right away. And I can constantly go back in here, no matter where I am in my project, and keep editing it. So I can go and model and do things, then I can come back and I can be like, that needs to be a little more smooth or whatever the case may be. So just a watch out on here, if you have really bad geometry, maybe I can give you an example. I'm gonna go into this object and I'm gonna hit 3. And I'm gonna extrude this, E. But then I'm gonna say, I'm gonna hit escape because I decided I don't want to extrude it. Okay. And then I'm gonna tab out. Okay. So what happened there is it actually did extrude this, but it put the plane right back on top of the same plane. So if I tab in here and hit G, you can see that there is one on there. Now, when I tabbed out, my bevel's not applied anymore because it doesn't like the fact that there's two vertices on top of each other in all of these four corners. So I need to go in and clean up this geometry. So I'm going to go into here. I'm going to click 1 and A for all. There we go. And just so you know, when I do that, if I hit A and move my mouse up and let go of A, move my mouse up, let go of A, it'll select them all. So I can just select things with a mouse click versus hitting the number 8 right there. Okay, so I'm going to merge these vertices. So I'm going to hit M and I'm going to say by distance. So if they're really close together, they'll just merge into one vertice. So I'm going to click that. And notice I can see that my bevel applied right away. And in the bottom of my screen here, if I hide this, down here, it'll say how many vertices were removed. So that looks good. Okay, so that's the bevel um, modifier. So just be aware. The other thing about the bevel modifier, so let's do SX. Let's roll this way. Let's do SY. Okay, now notice I just scaled and it also scaled the bevels. So it squished them. If I want to reset that, I have to reset my scale for this object. So if I click on this object and hit N, and I go up into item over here, I can see that my scale has been stretched and reduced in certain ways. But if I want, and I didn't do anything to the Z direction, so that's why it still says 1. So if I want to reset this, I want to do Control A, hold it down, and then move your mouse up to scale, up to say 1 o'clock position, and let go of the buttons. And um, now my scale is reset, and now my bevels sort of look correct again. Okay, so we've got this object. I'm just going to move it up. So that's the bevel modifier. I'll leave it at that. There's more to play with on here, and you can just sort of play in there. So I'll leave that modifier in there, and I'm going to add another modifier to this array. Okay, so in this case, um, I have two copies, and for this relative offset, it's just affecting the x-axis, which is my red axis. So if I change this to 1.1, it's using the width of the actual object as sort of the factor. Sometimes that can be useful. I'm going to switch it back to 1. And instead of relative offset, I'm going to do constant offset. And here I can just change the distance as I see fit. So if I want these 12 inches apart and I want, 7 of them, there we go. Okay. I can also affect the other axes. So if I put 12 in here, okay, now I'm doing like a stepping thing in the Y. I don't want to do that right now. I'm just going to leave it at 0. Okay. And now I'm going to close up this array. Remember, I'm still in the sort of wrench looking thing there. I'm going to add another array to this object. I'm just going to click add modifier, array. And now I'll uncheck relative object and I'll do constant object offset. And instead of X, I'm going to do Y at 30. Oh, let's do 100. Okay, there we go. Now I can keep going with this, right? So I can array in the X, array in the Y separately, and I can stack these modifiers on top of each other. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna now add one more array, and I'm gonna do this one in the Y, constant offset, I'm sorry, in the Z, and I'll do 100. Okay, there we go. All right, maybe I'll do 50 on that, 40, and then I can increase my counts. Okay, we got this pretty cool thingy. All right. Now, let's say I want to edit this. I want to edit some of these. Now, if I click this and hit tab, I can only edit the original down there, which will affect all of them. Okay. What if I want all these editable? All right. So what we want to do in that case is bake in our modifiers. So the way we do that, I'm just going to change the name of these arrays. I'm going to call this one X, call this one Y. I'm going to call this one Z. Okay. And for bevel, I'm going to hit this little down arrow and I'm going to say apply. Okay. I'm going to hit the down arrow on X, apply, hit the down arrow on Y, apply, hit the down arrow on Z, apply. Now when I take this object and tab in, I have full axes to all the vertices, all the edges, and all the surfaces. Okay, really useful to, plus your computer doesn't have to do all the computing of the modifier. Now it just has this geometry and you can say go to wireframe mode and I'll select some of these. Let me tab in first. How about that? Go to 1, select all these and I can, move them or move them up, do whatever I need to do. Okay, I like going in the wireframe because then I can select everything all the way through your object. If you're in like solid mode and I do like that, it's not going to select the stuff in the back. So just don't forget that. Okay, so that's array. And let's look at our modifier list here. So we went through array and bevel. I do not use this Boolean one. I would use the bool tool add-on that I showed you in class. All right, let's talk about mirror, which is a little bit down here. And of course, play with all of these. Just play with them, play with their settings and try to break it. That's the idea. All right, I'm going to delete this. Actually, I won't delete this. We'll keep this object. Okay, I'm just going to move it down the y-axis. All right, so something to take note here. I have an object origin right here, and I have the 3D cursor right here. I can reset my object origin by right-clicking, saying Set Origin to Geometry. All right. Right now, the object origin is set for the first piece that we started with. So it's centered right in there. If I want to center it to this new piece, I'm going to do set origin, origin to geometry. Now it's in the middle. All right, very cool. Now let's add the mirror modifier. So I'm going to go add modifier, mirror. Okay, nothing happened. If I go Y, nothing happened. Z, I'm not seeing anything. Okay, now why is that? That's because it's mirroring about the object origin. So the way that we get a mirror is to move the object origin. So let's try this. I'm just going to move that object origin to this cursor point here. Okay, so I'm going to go and right click again, say set origin to 3D cursor. Okay, and look at that. We suddenly get a mirror on the X. If I unclick that and do Y, we get a mirror along the Y axis. If I unclick that, let's do Z, get a mirror along the Z. Okay, so the main takeaway with a mirror is you just got to make sure that your object origin is in the right location. Because if it's not in the right location and it's centered on your object, it's not going to work. I might go to the top view and maybe I'll recenter this, something like that, and maybe I'll just rotate. I like going to the top view because then if I do G, it's only going to move in the plane I'm looking at. And if I do R, it's only going to rotate like that. It's not going to rotate weird. If you're in perspective, it's going to do that. Okay, so let me do Z6. Let's take a look at our object here. And now I'm going to mirror again. Let's try X. Okay, that's kind of wild. I guess it's reading. How is it doing this? Let's see. Axes, S, X. Let's try bisect. Let's see anything there. Flip. Let's see anything there. Okay, that's for X, Y. It's sort of doing it. I guess you have to think of this as along the axis of X. We can do both, which is kind of cool. Look at that. Along the axis of Z. Okay, so this is a pretty cool piece suddenly. I'm actually going to bake this one in. Okay, now I can tab in and I have access to all these points and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. So I can go from a simple geometry to a complex geometry very quickly. Okay, I'm gonna hit X to delete this piece. And let's go ahead and just place a cube. All right, there we go. And let's look in our modifiers. Um, okay, I want to show you one more on this video, and then I'm gonna do a separate video for the one of the modifiers. It's just a little more convoluted. So I'm gonna hit X to delete this. I didn't want a cube actually. I'm gonna do Shift A, and I'll do plane. Okay, so we have this plane, and we can scale it however we see fit. Here we go. Maybe I want to put some cuts in it, so I'm going to do Shift R, or sorry, Control R for uh, loop cut, but I got to tab in first. See, there's a cut there. If I just kind of move my mouse around, I'll do this one, and I will do that one. Okay, do another one here, another one here. So I'm left clicking to accept that, right clicking to put it right in the center, or I can left click and slide it wherever I want. So I could slide it down, left click to put it here, or I can just right click and it'll go right in the center. All right, now I'm gonna go to the top view. I'm just gonna play with these a little bit. Let's do SX. Let's do SX here. Okay, we're just making a little leaf. Maybe I can move this up, right? GZ, GZ, and GZ. Okay, so here's a little curved leaf. How lovely is that? Look at that. I'm going to put this on a tree. So let's do this a little tighter here. And there we go. I could also bevel this right here. I could do Control B, V. And I could click here and use the controls in the bottom left, or I can just move my mouse wheel to increase the segments or lower my mouse wheel to decrease the segments. Control B, V. I'm going to do lower segments here. Make it look a little, there we go. That's kind of cool. A little more organic. Okay, so I got this leaf. I'm actually going to tab in and play with these. I'm going to bevel these too. I'm going to select these all. See? Maybe there. Oh, yeah. Now we're cooking with gas. So I've got this leaf. I'm going to go to the modifier and I'm going to go to solidify. Okay. Solidify is a really quick way to give thickness to this. The other command I could have used is extrude. Let's try even thickness. And you can play with these different settings, but this is a good way to just get some thickness to something, and we can keep playing with it. So I don't have to extrude it once and not get back in there. I can extrude it a couple times. All right, I'm just playing with some of these settings here, seeing what they do. Now I'm going to bake this one in. Okay, tab in, and now I have access to all these points, lines, and planes, and I can do whatever I want with it. So we made a leaf very quickly. Okay, so um, play with some of your modifiers. I highly suggest maybe playing with some of these deform modifiers. They're kind of fun, especially like a simple deform. Maybe just play with that. We'll leave it at that for now. I'm going to do one more video on this modifier in particular. All right, I'll be back.